Right. So, in addition to puberty, which is the major event that's going to take place during adolescence, there is another major event that's taking place, and that is inside the brain. Um, During the adolescent period, the brain is going to go through a period of remodeling, if you may. So, the teenage brain is actually going under construction to become a faster, more sophisticated brain. Yes, there was a lot of pruning and a lot of specialization that took place in the first few years of life. We said that there's an increase in the weight, and there is a lot of pruning and specialization based on experience. But during the adolescent year is the second stage of that development. There's going to be another remodeling to the structure of that neural connection, and that is going to produce a much faster, much more efficient brain. Now, this is going to take place during the period of adolescence, and that's going to be the reason for those sudden changes and mood swings and irrational actions that the adolescent is going to be involved in. And towards the end of this stage of adolescence is when we finally receive that adult that can make better decisions. One of the contributing factors to this stage is that the brain is going to mature um, at different rates. The areas of the brain that's going to improve and mature and become more sophisticated and faster um, due to myelination is happening at different rates. So, for example, the area that is involved with emotion, the limbic system, is going to be affected by hormones and therefore grow dramatically during early adolescence. So, your hormones are affecting, yes, the production of your sexual parts, but that's not the only area that hormones are affecting. Remember, hormones are responsible for uh, the growth of multiple areas and the development and the processes of multiple areas. So, one of those areas has to do with the development of certain areas of the brain. So, that hormonal production is going to accelerate the development of the limbic system, and therefore it will make sense to see that kind of like the if you put your foot on the gas, that engine called your body is going at a high speed. Now, what controls that speed in the limbic system is going to be the brakes of the brain, and that is the prefrontal cortex, and that is the area that is responsible for planning, postponing gratification, thinking critically, and making wiser decisions. This area unfortunately develops later. It's slower in development than the limbic system, and that is why it's literally like stepping on gas. Your car is going so fast, but your brakes are kind of immature. So you tend to snap, you tend to react, you tend to be anxious and do things. Take risks and do things according to adults foolishly without thinking. Well, it's not that without thinking, it's just that the area in the brain that is well developed is the one that drives on excitement and yeah, emotion and those sudden impulses. And the area that tries to process that and control that and makes you slow down and make a better decision tends to be developing at a lower rate. This is the example that I kind of collect every semester and update as I read about the newer trends that teenagers are engaged in. So, because of that gratification in the limbic system to engage in crazy endeavors that might reward uh, your brain emotional area, or the reward system in your brain lights up because of it, you might engage in some crazy experiments, such as texting and driving, drinking, having sex without preventative measures. And then there are those crazy dares, or I don't know what to call them other than just new crazes that, teenagers come up with, and they engage in them. And coupled with the peer pressure and the brain's immature prefrontal cortex, they might be susceptible to engaging in them. Here it is with the Tide Pods Dare, and this is the newest one, the Skull Breaker challenge. So, all of those are pretty much examples of what the teenage brain might be going through. And this is not to say that the teenage brain is structured to do crazy things. It's just simply, like we said, the acceleration in the limbic system, the growth that happens here, and the slow development of the prefrontal cortex makes engaging in these things much more rewarding than thinking about the consequences of doing it. Now, this is not to say that the teenage brain is not good, and this acceleration in the emotional impulses is not good in other areas. Of course, it is. If it wasn't for this acceleration in the limbic area, we wouldn't find teenagers making up the majority of protests and fighting for people's rights, and jumping to rescue people out of cars. So this reactive attitude can solicit positive behavior, but also can solicit foolish behavior as well.